You know that feeling when you're scrolling through endless NAS options and the biggest fear is ending up with a box that looks impressive on paper but ends up collecting dust because it never really fits your workflow? I've been there trying to balance the need for serious storage capacity, network speed, and future-proofing without blowing the budget on a machine that only a handful of IT pros can actually squeeze the most out of. That hesitation is exactly why I'm taking a solid look at the QNAP TS1673 AURP16 GUS before you decide to click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the TS1673 AURP isn't a hobby-level NAS you'd tuck under a desk. It's a 1U rack mount that's built for small to mid-sized businesses or power users who already have a rack and need to consolidate a lot of data in one place. 16 3.5-inch bays give you room to start with a modest RAID array and then scale up to petabytes if you ever need to. That's a massive jump from the 2 or 4 bay units most home users settle for, and it changes the whole dynamic of how you can structure backups, media libraries, and virtual machine storage. Let's talk about the day-to-day experience. The unit runs on an AMD Ryzen embedded V1500B quad-core processor clocked at 2.2 GHz. In real terms, that chip is more than capable of handling multiple simultaneous tasks, running a few Docker containers, serving media through Plex, and handling a couple of virtual machines for testing environments, all without the kind of lag you'd see on a cheap ARM-based NAS. I've seen users on community forums mention that they're able to run QTS's built-in virtualization station with 2 or 3 VMs at 4 GB RAM each and still have headroom for file services. If your workflow includes anything beyond plain file sharing, that extra CPU muscle matters. Memory is another practical point. The base 16 GB DDR4 UDIM is generous for NAS, and you can bump it up to 32 GB if you anticipate heavier virtualization or need a larger cache for intensive workloads. That flexibility is a real advantage if you think you might evolve from just storing backups to running containerized apps or even a small private cloud. For a home user who only needs a network drive for movies and photos, that kind of headroom is overkill, but for a boutique video editing shop that needs fast access to large footage files, it's a genuine time saver. Network connectivity is where the TS1673 AURP starts to stand out from older models. Two 2.5 GBE ports give you roughly 2.5 gigabits per second per link, which translates to about 250 megabytes per second in real-world file transfers when both ports are aggregated. If you've got a 10 GBE backbone in your office, you can bond those ports and get close to the speed you need without having to buy an expensive 10 GBE network card for the NAS. For a typical office that moves multi-gigabyte project files daily, that upgrade from a 1 GBE link can shave minutes off copy times, and those minutes add up. The 2 PCIe Gen 34 slots are another practical feature. They let you add a 10 GBE network card, an M.2 SSD cache, or even a SATA expansion card if you ever need more than 16 bays. It's not just a future-proofing gimmick, it's a way to tailor the box to a specific bottleneck you encounter later. I've seen a small post-production studio install a 2 TB NVMe cache in one slot and a 10 GBE card in the other, turning the NAS into a near-instantaneous media server for Premiere Pro edits. If you're the kind of person who likes to future-proof but never actually upgrades, those slots might sit idle, but for anyone who knows they'll eventually need more speed or storage tiers, they're a real value add. Now, who should actually consider buying this machine? If you run a business that needs to store, protect, and serve a large volume of data, think engineering firms with CAD files, a video production house, or a managed service provider with client backups, this is the kind of platform that lets you build a reliable, scalable solution without constantly swapping out hardware. The redundant power supplies are a safety net. If one PSU fails, the system keeps running, which is crucial when you can't afford downtime. It also supports QNAP's snapshot and replication features, giving you point-in-time recovery that's essential for compliance or just peace of mind. On the other side, if you're a typical home user who just wants a place to drop a few terabytes of family photos, movies, and a backup of your main PC, the TS1673 AURP is probably more than you need. The initial investment in a rack, the need for proper cooling, and the learning curve of QTS's advanced features can feel like a lot of overhead for a simple media library. In that scenario, a 4-bay Synology or a more modest QNAP model would hit the sweet spot. Let's talk weaknesses because every product has them. The biggest practical trade-off is the physical size and power consumption. A 1U rack unit draws